Hey, what's going on, everybody? I'm back. I'm here to give my predictions for all of today's action in Week 7. Last week, I went an impressive 4-10 in my predictions for Week 6. Safe to say that was probably the worst week ever, and I hope it's the only worst week I've had and will have this season. Um, yeah, let's just say I finished off quite a bit of rum after watching all those games and watching every single one of my picks, with the exception of 4, go down the drain. So let's just hope that, week 7's a lucky number. Let's see if I can get back on that winning trail, shall we? So without further ado, I'm here to give my predictions. We'll go ahead and get started with Tennessee at Buffalo. Tennessee Titans coming off an impressive victory at home over the Pittsburgh Steelers last week. They will be traveling to Buffalo to take on the Buffalo Bills, who also had an impressive victory after really just getting taken to the woodshed 2 weeks prior, or 2 weeks straight prior to their game with Arizona at the hands of New England and San Francisco. And they went into Arizona and came out with a victory in overtime. And I'm going to pick the Buffalo Bills on this one. They're at home. I think they have a little bit of momentum coming off of that victory at Arizona. I think it'll be a little bit more than what Tennessee will bring and what Tennessee will offer. So my pick in this game will be the Buffalo Bills. Next up, NFC East rivalry between the New York Giants and the Washington Redskins. The Giants are at home in this one. Now, last season, the Washington Redskins had the New York Giants number. In fact, they swept them. So you think conventional wisdom, I'm going with the Redskins, right? Can't do it. The Giants looked very impressive. They thoroughly went into San Francisco and manhandled the 49ers. And the Redskins came off of a thrilling victory over the Minnesota Vikings, where RG3 just completely took over that game. However, I think the Giants are remembering the fact that they got swept by the Redskins, and the simple fact that they're 0-2 in the division, they know that they lose this game, they've got a hill to climb to get back in the NFC East race, much less the NFC's playoff race. Even though it's Week 7, those division losses will come into play. But I think the Giants get their revenge over what the Redskins did to them last season. I think Eli will have a big game in this one. I think the Giants are just going to pull out a victory in this one. Not going to be a blowout, because the Giants or the Redskins aren't going to let them just run wild like that. And the Redskins really just know how to play the Giants. They do. But I think that Eli fourth quarter magic will come into play in this one, and the Giants will get their victory over the Redskins and get into the win column in the NFC East. So, next up, NFC South division matchup between the New Orleans Saints, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. New Orleans is coming off a bye, and they're coming off the bye previously in the previous week, having beaten the San Diego Chargers to finally get into the win column. And the Tampa Bay Buccaneers basically beat up on the NFL's tin can and the Kansas City Chiefs. In this game, I'm going to go with New Orleans, even though my gut's telling me to go with Tampa Bay, because New Orleans is on the road and they don't play their best game at Tampa Bay. But I think at this point, that victory kind of rejuvenated the franchise and, gave them something to work with. And if I'm not mistaken, I think Joe Vitt is done as the interim coach due to the Bounty Gate suspensions. I can't remember who's supposed to take his spot, but having said that, I just think that, and they may be getting Jonathan Vilma back. I just realized that Vilma may play today, maybe his only time to play this season, until the word comes down about his appeals for his Bounty Gate suspension. But Tampa Bay, they always beat up, they've been beaten up on, basically, for lack of a better term, jabroni squads. They beat Carolina and they beat Kansas City. Not exactly teams that, strike fear in the hearts of, other teams in the NFL, but once again, New Orleans. I think I'll give them the advantage on this one, just in terms of actual, offensive firepower. You know, they're not gonna lay down like Kansas City did. So I'm gonna go with New Orleans on the road on this one. Even like I said, my gut's telling me to go with Tampa Bay, but I'm gonna go with New Orleans. So next up, we have the Dallas Cowboys traveling to Carolina, take on the Carolina Panthers. The Cowboys probably played their most complete game and a loss at Baltimore, and it's just impressive. They still found a way to lose, but if you look at that game, that running game actually woke up, and that running game is going to have to really carry a lot of the load because DeMarco Murray is going to be out with a foot injury. So the former incumbent Felix Jones and Steven Tanner, they're going to have to actually pick up the slack and help carry the load for the Cowboys. The Carolina Panthers, they're coming off a bye week as well. Safe to say that Cam Newton's having quite the sophomore slump. And he doesn't look anything like he did his rookie season. I think a lot of that is attributed to the fact that teams are starting to figure him out. Whereas last season, during the lockout, not many, you can't really gauge or scan a rookie. And so it worked to Cam Newton's advantage. Unfortunately, it's not working like that this season for Cam. I think the Cowboys go into Carolina and pull off a victory here. Extremely bipolar squad they are, but I think they just have offensively and defensively a lot more talent. And it's just a matter of them putting it together. And I think they do put it together. It's going to be a close victory, but I give the slight advantage to the Dallas Cowboys on this one. So, next up, what was supposed to look like, what was supposed to look like the preview of the AFC Championship game. We have the Baltimore Ravens traveling to Houston to take on the Houston Texans. The Baltimore Ravens are in a lot of pain. They're in a lot of trouble as far as defensive firepower because they're without Ray Lewis. They're going to be without Ladarius Webb, who are both lost for the season. And they also, Ed Reed is playing with a torn labrum, but he's been playing banged up for the longest. But that defense is not going to look the same without the heart and soul of their team coming on the field. And they're traveling to Houston. And outside of Houston getting their asses kicked thoroughly by the Green Bay Packers last Sunday night, they are one of the top teams in the league. And they're chomping at the bit to get revenge on the Baltimore Ravens for the AFC Divisional Playoff game, in which they didn't have Matt Schaub. There was a lot of personnel they didn't have in that game, and that they're looking forward to playing the Baltimore Ravens, who, under John Harbaugh, have not lost to Houston. He is in fact 6-0. But having said that, they are going to Houston, and this is a totally different Houston Texans team. And the Baltimore Ravens, if you looked at what they've done offensively in the last couple weeks, and you look at their run defense the last couple weeks, I got to go with Houston on this one. I think it's their time to finally get that win over a John Harbaugh-led Baltimore squad. Arian Foster, I think he's going to have a big day. And excuse my voice. If you hear it cracking, laugh at it, but, lack of sleep, ladies and gentlemen, it's kind of kicking in. But some NFL action will perk me right up. But I digress. Houston Texans at home. I take them for the victory in this one. Okay, now we have the battle of the rookie QBs, where Brandon Weeden and his Cleveland Browns, coming off of a victory over the Cincinnati Bengals, will be traveling to Indianapolis to take on Andrew Luck and the Indianapolis Colts. The Colts are coming off a thorough ass-kicking at the hands of the New York Jets, but they're going home to some home cooking, and they're taking on the Cleveland Browns, who finally got off the schneid and finally got into the win column as the last team in the NFL to do so. However, they're going into Indianapolis. I like the Colts in this one. Colts are at home. Andrew Luck plays a lot better at home, and the Browns, the Browns are the Browns. They're competitive at this point, but um, I like the Colts' chances at home with Luck and Wayne doing their thing out there on the field. And yeah, I think Andrew Luck will outduel Brandon Whedon in this one. So, Colts. Next up, we have the Green Bay Packers, who are coming off a thoroughly impressive ass whooping that they laid on the hands of the Houston Texans, where Aaron Rodgers looked exactly like the Aaron Rodgers of last season and the season before, where they traveled to St. Louis to take on Sam Bradford and the St. Louis Rams. Like I said, Green Bay looked like the Green Bay Packers that everybody thought that they were going to be coming into this season. Aaron Rodgers threw 6 touchdown passes against the vaunted Houston Texans defense at Houston. And St. Louis is coming off of a nail-biting loss to the hands of the Miami Dolphins, where they actually outgained the Dolphins in yards, but still took the loss. Hey, yards are one thing, points are another. But St. Louis is at home, and they're taking on the Packers. And normally when I say St. Louis is at home, they're a much different team. They play more competitive. They're more aggressive. I got to go with the Packers on this one. I think they woke up to the fact that, they were, before that Houston game, 2-3 and sitting in a hole. And they know that Minnesota and Chicago are almost running away with that division in the division race so far. So they need this victory to keep up and keep pace. And I think they get it done at St. Louis, which is, wow, I don't think anybody said this in years, which is a pretty tough place to play. But I think Aaron Rodgers steps it up, and they get it done. So I'm taking the Packers on this one. Our next game, we have the Arizona Cardinals traveling to Minnesota to take on Christian Ponder and the Minnesota Vikings. How funny is it that I say Christian Ponder and not Adrian Peterson in the Minnesota Vikings? Christian Ponder has really taken over as the man for that team so far. Adrian Peterson hasn't scored a touchdown in 5 straight games. He's coming off that massive knee injury that he suffered at the hands of the Redskins last season, but he's still running strong, but teams are keeping him out of the end zone. And Christian Ponder has taken up the slack. Percy Harvin has taken up the slack. Their special teams has taken up the slack. And, they're sitting at 4-2. And nobody saw that coming, including yours truly. You have the Arizona Cardinals who are also sitting at 4-2. But they're coming off a loss to the Buffalo Bills at home. And they've got some more quarterback issues yet again. Stop me if you've heard this before. Kevin Cobb, he's going to be out for a few weeks with a rib injury. So John Skelton, who is coming off of an injury his own self, having to go right back in and be the starter for this team. But they're traveling to Minnesota, which, like I said about St. Louis, is a very tough place to play. And that Minnesota Vikings defense is unforgiving. And they're going up against the Cardinals' offensive line, which is offensive. So who do you think I'm picking in this one? Yes, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are at home. They play tougher. They play stronger. They play faster. I think Ponder and Harvin are going to have a feast. I even think Adrian Peterson is going to get in the end zone in this game. So, having said that, Vikings. Next game, we have the battle of the AFC East, which is no stranger to any NFL fan considering the parties involved. The New York Jets are traveling to Foxborough to take on the New England Patriots. The Patriots are coming off of a jump in front loss, and like I said, they were leading. And that's why I say jump in front, because they were leading and they decided to jump in front of the Seahawks to lose in front of them. So, a fourth quarter jump in front loss to the Seattle Seahawks. Yeah, I think they're pretty pissed about this one. And they're at home. And they're playing a division rival they can't stand. The New York Jets are coming off of their most impressive victory since Week 1 against the Buffalo Bills, where they just thoroughly shellacked the Indianapolis Colts. Sean Green looked like the running back that they drafted. Sanchez was in stride. Cromartie was on fire. But they're going to New England. And New England knows how to beat the Jets at New England. It's what they do. It's almost automatic. And having said that, that's why I'm picking the Patriots, because they're at home against the Jets. And Tom Brady, Bill Belichick, they don't like to lose consecutive games. And I think they wake up and step up. So, Patriots over the Jets in this one. Next up, we have our ramen noodle game of the week. And I say ramen noodle because if you don't have anything in the cupboard to eat, and all you have is those ramen noodles, you tell yourself, crap, well, this is all I have to eat. Might as well, you gotta eat. Don't want to starve. If you're an NFL fan and this is the only game you're gonna be able to watch tonight, tomorrow, etc., enjoy that pack of ramen noodles. The Jaguars are heading to Oakland. I'm picking the Oakland Raiders because the Jaguars absolutely suck. I have nothing else to say on that. Pittsburgh at Cincinnati is the Sunday night game of the week. So you have two AFC North division rivals who are both coming off of losses. The Steelers coming off of a loss to the Tennessee Titans on last Thursday, and you have the Cincinnati Bengals who are coming off of a loss to the Cleveland Browns. This game is at Cincinnati. The Steelers suck on the road. The Steelers have been sucking pretty much all season. I think Cincinnati gets Pittsburgh on this one because it's on the road. I think Andy Dalton and A.J. Green have a big game in this one. And I think that Steelers defense is going to have trouble stopping Andy Dalton from throwing it all over them. So I'm picking Cincinnati at home for the Sunday night game. Our final pick is the Monday night game, which is in the NFC North. We have the Detroit Lions, who are coming off of a come-from-behind victory at Philadelphia, traveling to Chicago to take on the division-leading Chicago Bears and their opportunistic and very, very talented defense. Monday night game at Chicago. Yeah, I'm taking Chicago on this one. Cutler and Marshall, they've been playing great. And like I said, that defense is humming. That defense is like, if I'm not mistaken, they are leading the league in takeaways. And when you've got secondary personnel, you got Lance Briggs and Charles Tillman who are taking interceptions to the house as easy as kicking an extra point, you have a very good chance of winning games. And I think Chicago torches Matthew Stafford in this one. I think Jay Cutler and Brandon Marshall, I think they set it off at the Windy City. So Soldier Field, Bears fans, I'm riding with you all on this one. Bears take it to the Detroit Lions. And there you have it, ladies and gentlemen. Those are my picks for Week 7's action for today, tonight, and tomorrow. Come back in about 3 days or so, and I'll give you my what have we learned for Week 7's action. And then I'll give you my predictions for Week 8. You know how I do it. If you've been watching, and if you've been reading my posts and my blogs, you know my schedule at this point, unless I say otherwise. So, till then, Sager Mason signing off. Good luck to everybody's teams.